Hey YouTube, this is Tired Metalhead Weatherman. I hope you guys have had a good Wednesday. Got a bit to talk about here, of course. Otherwise, obviously, I wouldn't be on here posting. But we got severe weather going on, and I'm on the wrong screen actually, which really sucks. But as you can see right now, we have ongoing severe weather as well, but that threat is starting to really diminish. We had a little bit of a severe weather threat around the Ohio Valley, but for the most part, it's been, I wouldn't say necessarily relatively quiet, but it hasn't been like one of those marquee high number days, if you know what I mean. Only 42 wind reports and 3 hail reports, no tornado reports. We like to see that, and it's also been pretty dispersed around the country, so to speak. I mean, we have a little bit of activity around the Ohio Valley, but you also see stuff going on in Texas. You have stuff going on in Southeast and Northern Plains, and even around the Four Corners. So it hasn't been like a centralized severe weather threat today. Weren't necessarily expecting it, but you know, it's always good to see these storm systems underperform, if anything. But we still have multiple days with slight risk ahead. I'm mainly going to be emphasizing tomorrow's threat more than anything in this video. I mean, there's a marginal risk for Friday and a slight risk on day 4 for Saturday, but we're going to mainly just talk about tomorrow in particular because we'll cover a lot more of that in the weekend forecast. Now, if the marginal risk gets updated to a slight risk, I might bring it up tomorrow in a video tomorrow if I make one. But if it's not, I'll just kind of leave things be. If you want me to do it, if you do want me to do a video, let me know in the comments. I mean, I'm always eager for feedback. I don't get much, but maybe we can change that. But anyway, enough rambling. Let's get into tomorrow's threat because it's really interesting. Because we have two areas, as you could probably have seen earlier. We have a slight risk in the northeast and then one to the southeast. Both of these storm systems have a main threat of damaging winds, but we cannot rule out hail with either of these. And there's a little bit of a tornado threat in the northeast. There is a 2% over there, over towards New York City, Albany, anywhere around the Long Island region and New England area. We'll have to be on the lookout for a slight chance of a tornado. As I said, the main threat's been wind, and both is going to be wind with both regions. Pretty much from Raleigh to Jackson and areas in between, we'll have to be watching you really close for damaging winds in excess of 60 miles an hour, and the same can be said for our northeastern system. The hail threat is relatively minimal, but there are some parameters in place that, you know, it's kind of hard to say, but it's to a point in which you could be that lucky person that ends up under that one storm that produces severe hail. I'll put it that way. You could get literally it's one of those kind of luck in the draw type situations. Forgive me, I'm tired. I've been at work all day, and then went to the gym and then did music as soon as I came home. So I'm pretty exhausted. So if I fumble my words, just bear with me. Anyway, let's take a look at one of these parameters right now. We're going to take a look at the Cape. And this is going to be the main driving force behind our severe weather threat in the southeast tomorrow. Even overnight, if you look closely, and I'll even show you the little legend here that measures the Cape value, so to speak. When you're getting into this orange region, you're hitting above 2,000 joules per kilogram. And to put it into perspective for you, when you're looking towards thunderstorms, you're looking at a garden variety thunderstorm, I should say. You're looking at about maybe 500 to 750 joules per kilogram to get a rumble of thunder or two. Once you're getting above 1,000 to 1,500, you're starting to really increase the oomph in that thunderstorm. Starting to look at some potential severe. And once you get about 2,000 joules plus, that's a lot of energy you're talking about in the atmosphere. And as you can see, this is into the overnight hours. It's about maybe 2 a.m. Eastern, I would say. I know it says 06Z, but that's in GMT time, so you subtract that back about 4 hours. But you can clearly see here, even into the overnight hours, these Cape values would normally drop off. We're still sitting around 2000s, almost around the entire southeast. So the atmosphere is ripe, and you could get thunderstorms even as early as the wee hours of the morning. And really, there's a chance for them all day. But the greatest severe threat is going to come in probably about just about after lunchtime, I would say. I mean, you're getting some really rich values. You're getting over towards 3,000 joules per kilogram in a lot of spots. Now, when we look towards the northeast, it's not quite as rich, but you can clearly see here, though, that we're still hitting past that. We're still hitting up to the 1,500 plus mark here as far as values, which is more than sufficient enough for severe weather and slightly more ideal for tornadoes, because when you get above about maybe 2,000, 2,500 joules per kilogram, these storms will form more in clusters. When you look for a tornado threat, you don't want these storms in clusters. You want them to be a little bit more discrete, and that's the kind of mode that we could be looking at here, albeit there's other parameters in play that we're going to be going over in a minute here that'll show why this threat isn't much higher. But as far as the Cape is concerned, it makes things a little bit more plausible as far as any sort of tornado threat. I think the greatest area of concern for me would probably be around the New England region. So we'll watch this go on. We're looking what about maybe 3, 4, 5 o'clock ish, and we do get a little bit of activity, and then towards the latter half of the afternoon here, we could see our damaging wind threat go up, especially as we look at the New England region, and then we'll watch this roll offshore into the early morning hours of Friday. Of course, in the southeast, your threat is not over. We still will have more thunderstorms available come Friday, and we will have to watch out for any sort of pulse severe threat around the Carolinas in particular. Alright, now I'm going to show you a quick reason why the hail threat isn't super high around this area. This is the lapse rate. This is a lapse rate model, and lapse rates are crucial to picking up on where our hail threats are going to be greater. When you have a lower value, you don't seem to have as high of a hail threat. You want lapse rates like what you're seeing over here around the Four Corners region, around the Western Plains, around the Rocky Mountains. Yeah. Lapse rates are usually just variations within temperature at different levels of the atmosphere. And when we look here towards our areas of severe weather for tomorrow, you don't really see impressive values. All the values are over here. You're seeing maybe 3s, and at best maybe a 6, a 7 if you're lucky. So that's going to minimize the hail threat. But again, like I said, with the Cape values being as high as they are around really both these regions, you can't rule out a hailstorm or two. And then when we look to the we're going to look at some wind shear here, especially at the lowest of levels. And this is going to highlight where we could have a tornado threat here. Like I said, I'm thinking that mainly around the New England region, just north of the Long Island region, could be our greatest area of concern. And when we look on this right here, there is a small area. If this thing would unfreeze, there's a small area right around here where we see an organized area that's actually more towards New York City, maybe even towards Long Island too. But you can see this little area of shear right here below levels. So spin up isn't impossible, but I wouldn't say that it's likely. The shear is about 30 to 35 knots, 40 knots at the very maximum, but it's nothing impressive. And then come Friday, these storms are already gone, and that's just leftover wind energy. Here's the thing about these little shear models here. If there's no thunderstorm within this area, you can pretty much disregard this for any sort of tornado threat. So if you see that you're in an area that's in the purple or beyond, don't think immediately, oh my goodness, I'm going to get a tornado. It's not like that at all. But that's where I'm going to be mainly looking, is where I have my cursor at right now. And then we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at the I'm going to take a quick look at what the radar could look like through the next couple of days, mainly tomorrow. So as you can see right now, oh wow, I don't know how I got that far ahead, but you can see here right now, here's our storms in the Ohio Valley region. This is the storm system that's going to be moving off the east and causing more severe weather. You can even see a little bit of a swirl right here. I think the further north you go, especially towards Canada, excuse me, especially towards Canada, I think the severe weather threat was a little bit higher today. You can see our line of storms starting to develop in the early morning hours, and this cluster of storms is going to work its way to the south and east. It's going to cause a lot of trouble for us down here later into the day. And once we get into the evening hours, a new line of storms is going to form off of that boundary that was left behind from the first one and cause some severe weather possibly. And then when we go to the north and east, right ahead of this upper level low, new line of storms is expected to fire towards eastern New York. This will extend to the south a bit, and then by the late evening hours, we have our severe weather threat ongoing there as well. And by the early morning hours, for the northeast, you're done. Southeast, you're still gonna. You might be having some storms lingering around into Friday morning. From the looks of it, we have to wait almost until the afternoon for these storms to completely move out of the region, especially for you guys in the Carolinas. But that is our main threat for Thursday covered here, and this is all I got for the video. So if you guys like what I did here, drop me a like, share the video, send me a comment, and I will be happy, and I'd be happy to get back to you on the comments, especially. Bumbling my words again, so I'm probably going to get off of here soon. This has been Tire Metalhead Weatherman, and I will see you in the next video. Y'all have a good night.